Welcome to this Kickstarter video where I present a little bit about the tools and the things that I've done to make this game, to make Story Quest A Village Tale. The first tool I want to show you is the collision editor. Let's see, I got it here. I run it with Python and I get the collision editor that I built to handle collisions and also paths. So I built all the tools myself. Because kind of that's how I am, and also because it allows me to do it exactly as I need it to be done. So this is, if you'll notice, it's the first scene of it's the room where you start the game, if you remember from if you saw the few minutes of gameplay. But if you notice here, the things are cut there and here. There's a lamp missing, and here's a lamp missing. The things that are cut are in the foreground. There, I can load the foreground image, but I don't really need it. They don't need collision, because the player will move behind them when the player moves to them. I just have to collide everything else. So there are two modes of collision. I have rectangle mode, and what I do is I simply draw rectangles across the objects that the player will collide with, and when I implement those into the collision system of the game, obviously I'm saving size and position, and it's interposed over the map, and then the player will not be able to pass those rectangles. So it's a very, very simple way, very resource low cost resource way to add collision. Now for the walls, I switch here to line mode. So line mode, I have to start making a line like this. And then I can keep drawing lines across the whole of the room like that. And the player will not, I don't have to worry about the door. I have a collision rectangle there that teleports the player once he reaches the door, if the door is open, which it is not in the beginning of the tutorial, but then it activates once the tutorial is finished. And this door can also be walked through. It leads to the basement, the prison of the game. This is where you will put your prisoners if you accuse anyone. Here there's going to be a lot of collision because these things are already going to have, obviously I've already done this. I'm just showing you here to be, so there's no need to be too precise like that. And you notice that the lines follow a 90 or a 45 degree border only. That made it somewhat easier. I had some issues with collision without, and now that I reach the end, it will seamlessly connect. And so I save that, and that becomes the wall, the impassable wall, which uses a little bit different collision type. This is, if you know about programming and game programming, this is AABB collisions. This is the simplest form of collision, making the rectangle that follows the player not passing into the rectangle of the furniture. A little bit more complex is line collision or a vector-based collision, but that's fine. It's not too complex. And thirdly, I have path mode, and so I don't have NPCs moving around in the part of the game that you saw, but they do sometimes, and so I make just paths for them they can move around in, and then I activate the paths at the right time of the game, and so on. Then I can save all that or load a new image if I want to do another room, and also look at the foreground images to see what it all looks like. And that is the first tool. Now, more interesting is the writing tool that I wrote. Let's look at that one. So this tool is where I do my writing. Now, there are tools like this out there that you can use, but I wanted to write my own because it allows me to make, you know, as workflow tools go, these kind of tools, they are not pretty. They don't have to be pretty. Nobody's supposed to use them but me. They don't need fancy menus. I just need what we see here, and they're only for me. So I know exactly how they work. So I don't need a tutorial. I don't need help files. I can always reprogram them if something goes wrong. And having that freedom is essential for kind of a plug-and-play development experience. I don't have time to learn the intricacies of other rules and have to other tools, and then have to deal with the issues that those tools might bring if I'm trying to use them in a way that they maybe weren't designed to be used. Here I can do it all myself. Let me make a new NPC in this empty canvas. Let's call him Donald. And then once I've made Donald, I make a node, and I do it like this, and the Donald node, one of the nodes pops up. So first I will put tags. This is the tag area, and here I will write the text like, hello there, fellow. And this would be tagged as a greeting. So the tags allow me to insert all the behavior that I need to the nodes to have, because this then becomes a node. So I make another node, and the node then becomes a question node. That the question belongs to the player. The player will only question things. Hello, what is your name, for instance? And then I link the two nodes by dragging a line between them, and here I can freely move the node around to place them. So if I have 10 different questions, I just figure out a way to place everything. The only thing that is important is that the node is to the physical right of the node it comes from, that the x-axis of the node is above the x-axis of the previous node. That way the game will read the nodes in sequence. If the node is behind, the game is assuming that it's a previous node, and you maybe didn't use it to arrive at the node, since you can use the node to arrive at. That got a bit complex. Let me show you what I mean. So here I will write an answer node. So we're done with greeting. The NPC will now answer why my name is Donald. No relation. And then from the answer nodes, I might want several questions. So I say question. What are you doing here? Oops, that would be a question mark. Single question mark. And I link that. I make another node, and I say that would be another question node, and I say did you see someone pass by here just now? Assuming that is something that is relevant to ask. And then maybe I want a third question node that goes yeah, that would be another question node. And then I go what would be a third question? Out of my way, old man, I have no time for you. Not really a question, but it's bound to get a response. So now the player gets to pick one of these questions, and it all fits, and this just works, just puts right in. It's linked to the NPC Donald, and once the player activates Donald, he activates the right greeting. So there's a I'll show you how it works, but there's a flag and block system. So the players will acquire flags, and flags will open blocked nodes. So let's assume that this is a blocked node. Then it would simply add the tag here called block and underscore, and then the name of the block. It would be rude. So now this question will not show up unless the player also has the flag rude. Let's say he acquires this flag. See, now he only acquires on, well, he can acquire on questions as well, but let's, yeah, he can acquire on answers or questions. It doesn't matter. So then I go flag, flag, rude, and that's it. Now it works. If you saw my little the few minutes of gameplay, the previous videos, you would see these kind of clues, these flags pop up. That was one of these flags that the player acquired. Here he has acquired the rude flag, and then the system will open up the block. I don't have to do anything. This is all automatic. I just add the tags, and the behavior happens right away. Now let's assume that I also want to go back to these questions once we get to the future. So then I simply go, I add a save tag, and I give that save tag a unique name. Let's call it questions 1, something like that. And then I add that tag to all of the nodes. So save questions. Was that in plural? Questions 1, yes, plural. And here we go save and questions 1. So now let's assume that the NPC will say the same thing. It's not really all that relevant right here, but let's assume he will answer the same, even if I add, no matter what of those two first questions I ask, which sometimes happens. the NPC will say, let's see, what was the question now? It was, did you see someone pass by here? And what are you doing here? Well, I'm just standing here, all alone. Haven't seen anyone for weeks, really? And we can put the node there, and then that node connects to that. And everything works. I don't have to do anything beyond that. It just goes in. Now at this point, I might want to re-ask the first question. So then I add the tag here, which is return, and I remember the unique name, which was questions 1. And what will happen now is that the next, even if there are other questions here, the remaining questions, the questions here that have not been asked, will be added to any question that comes after answer. And if answer is the last node, then the question will be added after answer anyway. So all that just works. I just have to put in the tags, and the behavior works on its own. And this is what allows me to just sit down and write tremendous these trees, these dialogue trees, which is really where the fun of the game is. The ability to not just conform to whatever the game designer wants you to do, but truly take any conversation into any direction that you want to. That's kind of the fun part of the game. Now, how do I do that? There's an issue kind of within it becomes exponential. So what I try to do is that every single conversation has a greeting part, and then it has an initial question part that is usually between 5 and 10 different directions. That, each and every one of those leads to a secondary tire that has also between 5 and 10 directions. So now we're up to between 50 and 100 possibilities, which is tremendous. And then I start to end. So after that section comes, I essentially do this. I begin to funnel the player into the possible endings. He can fail the conversation, and the NPC will end the conversation and he doesn't get anything. But I try to use the fail forward design philosophy as much as possible, and allow that even a fail to give the player the chance to recover and maybe come back into another angle that he wasn't into, and then end the conversation into one of the 4 or 5 possible endings that will give you a card of some kind that you can use to continue, some clue that you can use to continue the investigation. It is possible to fully fail, but that's not so much fun. But I do want it to be consequential if you're not thinking about what you're doing. That's that. Let us take a look at some of the real stuff. I probably have to cover it up, but here. Oh, one thing about the saving. When I save this is the fun part of making your own. I can show you here. Let me load up the real one. That's the dialog JSON. They're saved as simple JSON files. And here I have all of the initial. Let's talk to Gerald, shall we? And here are some cards that are thrown around. Here begins the initial conversation, and it kind of moves on like that. So what I can do when I save is that I hit this and I have a dialog all. I can actually remove that because this is right into the game file. I save right on top of the game file, overriding it, but as I save, it will also save